But I thought it was really interesting, Bernice Leluc. How many of you have been reading her use of beta for autistics? So this case reports, all of her articles are in Ron Russell's nice compilation of all of us from a couple of years ago in the Professional Institute. So this article. And very, very quickly then, this is Berenice Luque, okay, speech and development therapist, and Nora Rosen, who is an outreach trainer. So the first is Ezekiel, the 12 years old. You can read his aspect. But they used remembrance, 20 minutes each morning before going to school, and then 1 hour in the afternoon, which is what I would suggest. I do not know whether they use headphones or not. The nice thing is you don't need to use headphones with Metamusic because it's one thing, single thing. So during the first 20 days and lasting for a few seconds, as the tape began to play, he would become very nervous, but after that he would calm down. And from that moment on, he would be committed to his homework. When you look through a lot of these, after the first 20 days, he no longer became nervous at the sound of the tape. He concentrates more on whatever he's doing, is more curious, on and on and on. What I think is interesting in a lot of her topics, some of the kids wanted to take the music off for the first 2 weeks. They just didn't like it. By the second week from then on, they came in, put it on, did all of their stuff, started repairing. So I would use more gentle music instead of Einstein's Dream at first, and I would not use the headphones at first, but that's just me. So as of August 2002, Ezekiel advanced 2 levels. 2 levels. This reminds me of a young boy that we did remembrance with who was 78 IQ, had been very abused and had been adopted. Are we on Ezekiel? And okay, next 2. Had been adopted by these people, and grandma was in the Professional Institute, took home remembrance. Within 6 weeks, this boy mainstreamed into a regular classroom. At the end of the year, though, he got a new teacher in 2nd grade, and he started backtracking. Well, by that time, she's added in Einstein's Dream. This young boy went on to get straight A's, be mainstreamed, and I got to meet the little boy. He thought I was a rock star. It was so. And he said, I know I'm only supposed to use Metamusic when I study, but when my parents aren't looking, I put it on, and it wakes up my brain, and I love to dance. How many of you work with the autistics? Okay, so I'll continue with a few more then. This is Bartholomew, 3 years of age, therapy began. So you have all of the things that he was suffering from. But now he smiles a lot, makes good eye contact, seeks out, definitely advanced from the hemi-sync treatment. He used Einstein's Dream on a daily basis. Once again, I would no sooner think of using Einstein's Dream at 3. In the beginning, he covered his ears, just like I do. He would listen to just one side or turn off the player completely. He threw things, shouted, waved his arms like he does when he's nervous. Went on for 15 days. Don't know what, but if you start reading all of her stories, there's something about 15 days with boys. I believe it's the neuroplasticity in the brain rewiring. Girls don't seem to want to throw it off. Is that because they're more pliant or what? Finally, he accepted hearing both sides of the tape, now listens with that. He's now speaking on and on and on, pays more attention, more connected, thus. So we have other examples, and you can read them all. I would love to read to you the final results in 2007. She says, in one of the patients, the observed changes did not last over time. But in 8 patients, the changes fluctuated. In another patient, no data was collected. But in the remaining 23 patients, the changes were stable. 10 patients rejected hemi-sync during the first days for no apparent reason, but later they accepted the hemi-sync like other patients. So, emotional affective aspect, 28 patients out of 30 improved. Pretty nice record, huh? Hyperactivity, 16 patients out of 17 improved. I personally have only had the one experience with an autistic, and that was a student who had been sent to me 2 years ago. Did I talk about this last time? The student 2 years ago? 26-year-old, had Asperger's, but about 6 other titles this long since 3 years of age. He came in, he said, and he was manifesting all of the gaze aversion and everything. He said, I can't take a test in the room. I've heard about hemi-sync. I'd like to try it out. Well, if I hadn't read this, I just wouldn't have even talked to him, but I told him what I would do. He went away. I never heard from him again until 8 months later. He came dressed like a normal person, shook my hand, smiled at me, said, I wanted to come back. Do you remember who I am? And finally I clicked in. I went, whoa, let's go in. He said, I want to tell you how much your hemi-sync worked. When I came to you, I was taking every test in the handicapped office, having to have extra time. Last semester, I took every test in the classroom, and I made the highest grades on every test. Is that amazing? And I went, wow, can we write this up? And he goes, oh, I don't know what it did for my autism. It just cured my ADD. So then I went back and he started, well, what were your favorites? He said, I loved breakthrough, illumination, Einstein's dream, and then my whole perception started to crack open. Really? Yes, and he didn't like Baroque gardens. He didn't like the ones I would have recommended, Baroque gardens and seasons and the very classical pieces. I would have figured their brains wanted structure, yes? So to me, it was counterintuitive. But he went on. He's now at the UCI, getting straight A's, and he keeps in touch. But he keeps telling me he doesn't know what it did for his autism, but it cured his ADD. So I invite you to play with it. Yes, he did. He looked me straight in the eye. He smiled. He had facial expressivity. He was presenting normal to me. Now, I don't know enough about autistic adults. By now, I never even had an autistic in class up until 4 years ago. This last semester, I had 5 in each class. They all profoundly impacted, but none of them were having trouble taking tests. And you know me, I don't do research. I just work with what works, and I love it.